All right, so we are in a series called Test I Money, right? And we've been going over this for the last couple of weeks, and it's been a conversation about finances because we believe that many of us have an opportunity to live out life differently, especially when it comes to our finances, and especially if we're doing it in a biblical way. It's the understanding that God has a way for us to live out our lives, both financially, relationally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Those are all different. See, God doesn't just want part of it, He wants all of it. And so we have to remember that that's where we walk through things. And so we've been calling it Test I Money because we're playing on words, right? That it's a testimony. And just so you understand, the word testimony means story. And if you look in the book of Revelation, there's actually a point in time where it says the blood and the testimony of God's people will point to Jesus, right? And so it's our story pointing to what God does in us and through us when it comes to living out a life of faith. And we know as soon as we start talking about finances that anybody's going to go, oh, it's a church talking about money. They want my money. Right? They're asking for my money. They just talked about generosity and they want my money. Here, this is the furthest from the truth. God does not want your money. God doesn't need your money. He wants your heart. And for many of us, those two are real tied together, right? Right? I love the old quote from St. Francis of Assisi. He says, there is the conversion of the head, the heart, and the wallet's the hardest because you're sitting on it. I added that part. He didn't say that part, right? I'm just saying, right? See, because God gives us opportunities to grow in faith through tests, trials, and that gives us a testimony, right? And many people are like, well, tests, I don't like tests. I'm with you. I hate tests. I'm not a big fan of tests. Like Scantron sheets, they give me the chills, man. That thing pops up and I'm like, right? And then I think, just answer C. No, I'm just kidding. But God gives us tests for a reason. And we know that because in Proverbs chapter 17, verse 3, it's written, and this is kind of the theme verse for this series, fire tests the purity of silver and gold, but the Lord tests the heart. See, that's why today we're very fortunate. We're going to have someone with us who lives and works and breathes in the area of finance. And we're going to get to know him, and we're going to ask him some questions, some that you've shared with me this week, some that we've put together. But they're all questions about finances that are going to help us grow. So here, I'm going to just introduce him. He's going to come up in a minute, but I'm going to just let you know about Brian Jans, all right? Brian Jans works for Thrivent Financial. Right? It's an organization that started over 100 years ago. Thrivent has been helping others live more generously, and they're guiding people through financial truth and path and all that. And Thrivent was established in 1902 with 500 people wanting life insurance. And what does that look like? And so Thrivent then went on, and by 2020, their mission is to help clients and future generations thrive with purpose. So it's not just about money, it's about purpose and life. And so one of the things that they're known for is giving back. It's actually both a priority of their clients and of the people that work for Thrivent. And so just so you understand, Brian has been a very pivotal partner with us. As a community of faith, he helped us with the Global Leadership Summit, which we're going to again do in August. So if you like learning about leadership, you're going to be there because you want to learn about leadership, and so you're going to be there. And so, okay, you're going to be there, right? And then also, Thrivent Financial helped with us just the other day with our Thanksgiving Box Bash, right? And here, we're going to stop right now because I'm going to toot our own horn, right? Our volunteers and leaders did an amazing job yesterday out at the Aurora Town Center. It was phenomenal. We gave out some 200 turkeys, some 350 boxes of food. I mean, it was incredible, and it was very, very warm. Right? So yeah, we were thanking God for coats, right? I'm just saying. But Thrivent actually has a way of being involved, and I'm going to let Brian explain that. But let's give a warm welcome to Brian Jans from Thrivent Financial. Hi, buddy. How are we doing?
Good morning.
Let's get you a microphone.
I'm just going to use yours with you.
Yeah, oh, that's right. He said, so do we share that microphone you've got on your ear? I'm like, no. They're going to go, oh, they're so close. No, that's, Here's the thing, when it comes to finances, there's always different viewpoints, different ways of growing. And so we think it's important we have those conversations. And so here's what I want you to understand. While we're up here, you can text message us a question you have about finances. All right? You can do that. It's very simple. You just text the word cash to 720-740-0620. And that's why I have my little Mac up here. Right? If you don't use Mac, Jesus knows. I'm just kidding. It's one of those things where you text that up here, and I can ask Brian the question. We can talk about it right here. So just make sure you text that in. For those of you that are watching online, there's also a link that will pop up that you can do that as well. So if you're watching online, you can be a part of the discussion when it comes to finances. But I want to make sure everybody understands Brian oversees the Denver branch for Thrivent Financial. It's a holistic, full-service financial advisory firm serving Christians across the United States. It actually started with the Lutheran Church, right?
Yes. Is this working?
It is now.
Now it is. Oh,
yeah,
yes.
okay.
Yeah, it started with the Lutheran Church, and about 10 years ago, we pivoted our business model all across the country to serving all Christians.
Right.
Which helps, because otherwise I don't know that I would be at the company. So
yeah, there you go.
We have a lot of people to help.
So he joined in 2019 to help undertake the initiative, helping the broader Denver metro area understand the value of a financial organization. And it's a Fortune 500 business. Brian lives every day to the fullest with his wife, Shannon, and 3 beautiful daughters. Let's just pray now. Right? And so Brian is down in Parker. They have dogs. They take care of their puppies. He is also, just so you guys know, he is now an elder at Southeast Christian Church. And Southeast Christian Church, yeah, you can give it up for Southeast. They were one of the churches that helped birth us as a church over 12 years ago. So we have a great partnership with them. And so we're going to talk through some things when it comes to that.
I welcome words of advice on eldering. So I'm learning. I'm in the process of learning.
Is eldering
If anybody
a word?
can do it.
Is eldering a word?
I think it is.
Eldership, eldering, elder. Oh, that's Jim Hughes.
Shannon's calling me elderly now.
Elderly.
So she enjoys that. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So as we get started, what are a couple of things that, we can talk about? So what's your definition of who a financial planner is?
Well, before I get into that, I want to tell you, awesome worship, wonderful worship team. There are a lot of songs that impacted me and have for years, but that final song, All My Life, You Have Been Faithful, All My Life, You Have Been so good, that hits me in the heart. Punches me in the face every single time. So I'm standing right over here tearing up, singing to that, because somehow God knows, right? God's like, Brian, I have you here for a reason.
That's awesome.
And that song really meant a lot to me, because my life has been transformed through faith. In my growing up journey, I kind of had to go to church, and then I didn't for a long time. And then 12 years ago, my wife and I decided, let's get the kids in church. That song is my story of redemption.
That's
so
awesome.
I'm thankful and grateful to be here. What was your question? Definition of financial planner? I think it was definition of...
Yeah, that too, yeah.
If you would have seen the list of requirements he gave me for today, I'm so stressed out right now.
He should be.
So the question, what is a financial planner? That's a wonderful question. You know what, when we sit down with people, I ask people, what do you think that means? Because I want to know what their experience has been, so that I can kind of shore up what my belief in it is. A financial planner is kind of what it says, but what it means is sitting down with people in our community and helping them make better decisions with money, helping them find financial peace, financial wellness with what they have, with what God's given them. And so that's what a financial planner does. I walk by our offices and our conference rooms, and I see my financial advisor sitting down with a person, or maybe a couple, or even a multi-generational family, and I know that they're in there having a heart-to-heart conversation about that person's goals and dreams. That's what a financial planner does.
Okay, so we've got several people that are actively involved in our church, our community of faith, that are also involved with that. And so we'll make sure you're aware of financial planners that are available through here as a family. So we want to make sure that we do that. But I want you to, we kind of talked about it. Why do you think most people struggle financially?
There are a few answers to that. I'll give you an example. I grew up on a small, tiny town farm in Oklahoma, town of about 900 people on a 40-acre farm. My parents did okay. They were the first people in our family to go to college, so I'm a second-generation college grad. They were the only ones out of their full siblings to do that, and they did okay. They did pretty decent saving money, but we never talked about it. And so one of the key ingredients, I think, to financial success is to talk about it. And that doesn't happen. You know what I just heard yesterday is that the schools in Colorado next year are starting to implement financial education.
Oh, good.
Or like regular financial education next year. That was wonderful to hear. I didn't know that. But I think that's one of the key messages and so we're up here talking about it. I don't know if that's happened before with you on this stage, and I'm excited about this type of a conversation. Behaviors and behavior management is the biggest missing ingredient for people. So what does that mean? I could leave church on a Wednesday night, not a Sunday, and maybe I'm hungry, and I want something to eat, and I drive by Chick-fil-A when they're open, right? Because I think they're remodeling, I just saw, right?
That's right. Christian Chicken is not open today.
I can drive by Chick-fil-A, and if I'm hungry and I want to hit the easy button, I can go in and spend some money, either on my debit card, my cash, or my credit card. And if I don't have a plan for that money, then I'm making behavioral decisions in the moment. And so what I have found over my 25 years in the industry and talking to work with a lot of people is a lot of it comes down to behavior management. So what do you do? How do you do that? Well, there's a lot of ways to improve behavior. So I think that's two of the biggest pieces. We're not talking about it, and then we don't put the behaviors in place that are going to guide us into better decisions.
Right. And I think that's a big part of it too, is the conversation. Because we know that most married couples, number one argument is finances, right? Second thing is how to raise children. So you got finances and children, and then how do you finance the children, right? So those are all different parts of what you do. Because let's be honest, how many people have you talked to that you go, so, younger couples, you go, so are you guys planning to have kids? Oh, we'll do it when we have enough money. That's right. Never have enough, right? So it's those conversations of life, finance, how do we do that? And again, I'm asking general questions. Again, Brian can't make specific comments because of what his job is. And so we're doing some generalities so that we can make sure it's the right way to do things. But as we're talking about individuals, and again, in a general sense, what is a good idea when it comes to savings, right? Because some people you hear 3 months. After COVID, people were saying you should have like 6 months worth of everyday living. Because just so you guys know, the statistic is most families are one paycheck away from being homeless. And so how do we look at that? Because I want to step it. I know there are some of us that come from a financial background where we go, well, I don't have enough to do that. You do. It's a mentality. It's a change in perspective. So if we were going to talk about savings, what would that look like?
I'm going to start. I may say this a few times today. It depends.
Yes.
To your point, we're all different. And
yes.
So a blanket statement is tough to make. But there are some general concepts that really smart people come up with. Dave Ramsey has some numbers out there, right? It's applause for Dave Ramsey. He's helped a lot of people. And so you nailed it. It's often said 3 months worth of, that's a big question mark. 3 months worth of what? Expenses? My paycheck? My income? Let me simplify it. What typically is thought of as 3 months of my take-home income should be in an emergency savings. Now, I think recently, post-pandemic especially, if people can get that up to 6 months, that's even better for comfort. And so I think anywhere in that 3 to 6 month range makes a tremendous difference.
And when we're looking at that, again, we can't be specific to your life. We can make generalities because we're all different. We all make different money, that kind of stuff. How would someone go about to do that? Because, we've always heard, many of us, I hope most of us have heard the 80-10-10, right? So tithe 10, save 10, lift off the 80. That's part of Dave Ramsey's financial planning is you tithe, you give what you're supposed to give biblically. And again, we've said it here before, not everybody starts that way. That's where we should be. But we have to grow in those cases. And then there's 10% saving. And so these were things that we talked about with our kids growing up. We always talked about savings. We always talked about giving. Even when they were little, when it came to birthdays, we would say, okay, so this is how much God has given you through your birthday. What are you going to give back to him? What are you going to save? And so we found out later our oldest daughter was stealing from our youngest daughter's savings. And so, yeah, Danielle, I just outed you on national. So,
That's one way to make money.
Yeah, that's one. It's just like, you want to take care of your bigger sister. So, but it's the understanding that we do that. So what would you say when it comes to savings? Like there's the 80-10-10. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, let me back up a second. I was at a Friendsgiving dinner last night. It was such a busy day after we did the box bash with you guys, which was so cool to see 350 boxes of food move out. I think it was.
Boxes,
wow. I was at a Friendsgiving. I was sitting down with somebody I didn't know. We got to talking about money somehow. I don't know how we did that. And he told me a couple of things. He was walking through the airport and saw a book on money management personally, and he bought it and started reading it, and then decided and collaborated with his wife and started making changes, and it was uncomfortable. He said at first, she's like, what do you want to do? We want to make that kind of a change? This was about 10 years ago. Fast forward to this day, they have no debt beyond their mortgage.
Okay.
And so I would say God put it in his heart. They made a decision to change their behaviors and make an impact. A little tip he also told me, because Dave Ramsey, when I went through it, they teach put cash in an envelope. That's a little tough to transact these days with cash. And so he found this app called Greenlight. I don't know if anybody's heard of that. He showed it to me last night, called Greenlight, like Greenlight Go. And you can manage your money in a different way without necessarily the envelopes. That's a means of accountability, right?
Yeah.
Let me go into another means of accountability. It's called financial advisors. I want to put my foot down on this for just a second, and I'll give you an example of why this could matter. My brother has a very successful business. As a kid, I tried to build a doghouse. It looked like a Van Gogh doghouse. It was horrible. Pieces were all over. It was terribly ugly. The dog didn't care, but I did. And I think my younger brother saw that and was like, I can beat you at that. So he got into woodworking.
Oh, okay.
And so he built a business of building fences and decks, and he's very successful in Oklahoma with that. And he's come up and built my fence for me twice. Now, I could build that fence myself. I could. I've done little home projects. I can YouTube DIY stuff.
Right.
I could build it. But if I built that fence 11 years ago at my house, it would not be standing today.
There you go.
Can I build the fence? Yes. Should I use a professional? Yes.
Yes.
It's kind of like going to the dentist. Can I brush my teeth and say I'm probably good? Sure. Can I go to the dentist? Probably better. Okay. Same thing with advice and managing behaviors. Is a professional can help be an accountability partner and a counselor. I know that's not quite the question, but I want to touch on that perfect. In the 80-10-10 rule, because again, I come back to behavior management. We're making decisions with our money. Okay, I'm gonna go down another little rabbit hole. The pandemic was one thing, but now with the inflation and the cost of goods going up, I feel that in the bank account. My wife and I feel that in the bank account. Part of our budget, and we budget loosely. Okay, part of our budget was about a $150 cable bill. It was in the budget. Until it wasn't. And we decided with all these rising costs of goods, we wanted to change up the budget, and we made a behavioral decision to get rid of something that we had comfort in, but when it became important enough to us, we said we're getting rid of it. And that's part of what happens. If it's important enough to us, then we're going to make a change. And if it's not, we won't. Right. Okay. 10-10-80 rule. Yes. Should we get into that?
Well, here, there's a quote from Warren Buffett. I want to share this quote with you because I think it's very important, because this guy knows money, right? Do not save what's left after spending, and instead spend what is left after saving. All right? Many of us make decisions about the 10-10-80 after everything's paid instead of doing it before it's paid, right? My wife and I had many conversations when we first got married. She's like, so how do we give money to Jesus if there isn't any? Well, we give it to him first, and then we worry about the rest. And she's like, wait a minute, but there's bills. I'm like, yeah, that's where it's tough, right? Because then that faith conversation, the budget conversation comes in. So let's get into the 10-10-80. What do you say?
Well, let me respond starting right there. You don't know this story because I don't think I've shared this with you. It was about 3 years ago. We have a fairly new pastor at the church I go to, Southeast Christian, and he's given some convicting sermons and some around money. And it was a January sermon series on finances. And I walked away from that series convicted that we've got to make a change in how we help take care of the church and thus the people in our community. And we were dabblers in giving to the church, in tithing, at best, not consistent at all.
You know what we call those here?
What?
Tippers. Right?
We were tippers.
Jesus. We tip Jesus every once in a while, right?
Right. Did you speak to me?
Yeah,
Well, here's a
exactly.
tip.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Did you make me cry? Here's a little more.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Okay. Yeah, we were tippers.
There you go.
And I went home. My wife is a strong, very fiercely strong woman. She's amazing. And we collaborate on things. And I went home and I said, we're going to start tithing 10%. And I don't say that kind of thing very often. And she goes, well, I'm not going to get in the way of what God told you to do. And so we started. And I was actually sitting down with a pastor, and I said, yeah, man, it's on my heart that we need to start doing this. You didn't know I was going to share this, by the way. That wasn't part of the story. And he said, Brian, I want you to watch how God blesses you. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, just trust me. I want you to see how God returns that blessing to you. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. Like, that's not why I'm doing this.
Right.
But okay, I'll watch. At the end of the first year, financially and in my place of work, I was one of the top few out of, 50 or 80 people in success, in what was tracked.
Right.
Had a lot of success that year. End of the year came, and January rolled around, and it was time to keep this going. And the devil was in me saying, you should stop this. That's a lot of money, because it kind of hurts a little.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, you think of what are all the, I could be in Mexico maybe a couple more times this year. And I kind of battled with that. And thankfully, God was stronger, of course. And we continued it. And we've continued it now with no more question for 3 years. And we keep getting blessed, and it's ridiculous. And so I don't do it for that at all. I do it because God says, like he told Aaron and the people in the Old Testament, like, you're going to focus on pastoring. Like, we're going to work while you do that. Like, that's how I feel about it. And so anyway, it's been an incredible experience for us. We were on the same page at home about doing it. Again, that's ties into the 10-10-80.
Yes.
10-10-80 is, again, give to the church, or give. It says give 10%, save 10%, and use the 80% for life. And so that's a fine principle. But I'm going to come back to my earlier answer. It depends.
Yeah.
It depends. I will continue, no matter what my bills are, that first 10% of the church is going to happen absolutely first.
Right.
There's times we can't afford it.
Right.
Somehow we manage. I don't know how. Somehow we manage.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Everything else seems to fall in place much better when our heart is in the right place with money and we understand its role.
Yeah. No, I love it. And again, I'm glad you brought up the app about the whole envelope thing. I sucked at the envelope thing. I'm just going to be honest, because I knew in envelope number 2 there was more money. So I would go over to envelope number 2 and move it to envelope number 3, and I go, see, we still have it. And my wife's like, that's not how it works. I was like, it did today, you know, so we can go out to dinner. Yay, right? It's one of those things. So I love the app. What was the app called again?
Green Light.
Green Light. Okay, see, we always joke here, there's an app for that, all right? So make sure you check that out. And then savings, you know, we know it's difficult. It puts a push. But here's the thing, you got to make a decision now for where you want to be later. And sometimes we'd much rather make a decision now, not for later. And we've got to be able to think those things through.
Can I touch on something real quick, too?
Go.
Thank you. It'd be weird if you said no, but I would understand. It's your show. I'm just on it.
No.
And so,
No, it's not my show.
outside in the lobby, there's little cards, and I think this is a good time to talk about that because the question will come up, well, I don't know how much I can save, or I do know how much I can save, and it's not going to get me where we want to go. My bills, my expenses, my debts, my giving, what do I do with that? And I want to mention this to you. These little cards out in the lobby, it's got a tiny little QR code on the back. My company, a couple of years ago, we serve Christians. I don't know if you caught that when we said that. Our business is serving Christians. We're an organization of Christians. We care a lot about communities. Our CEO said, everybody deserves a plan. Now, how do we put our money behind our words? And so she invested millions, if not billions, I don't know how much, into creating an opportunity that anybody and everybody can have budget counseling through our company, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Literally anybody. Right now, here locally, my team is for the next couple of weeks, anybody who signs up and does their first free budgeting session gets a free Colorado Parks pass. That's kind of cool. But these cards are back there, and you can scan it, and it'll take you to our website where you can sign up and register for a one-on-one online Zoom budgeting coaching session. You can do up to 3 of those. And on average, people are finding an additional $200 to $300 in their budget that they didn't quite realize they could do something better with. And that's all it is. It's about your own personal money management. And so it's a really cool way to take advantage of that free program.
Well, and again,
no strings attached.
It goes back to what he said about even building the fence. Some people know how to build fences, some people don't. And so you go to someone that knows how to handle those areas of life that are important. I'm not a doctor, but I stayed at a Holiday Inn. No, I'm just kidding. But it's one of those things where I'm not doing surgery, right? I've joked with a couple, like my son got hurt one time. I was like, I can fix that. He goes, no. There's a doctor for that, right? So we need to do that. Now, again, and one of the things we do here is we do offer financial classes. We've done it multiple times, but no one shows up. Right? Here's the deal. Amy Stevenson here works with a great financial organization. She does a great job of doing classes. And everybody's like, I get emails all the time. I need help with my finances. I need help with this. Well, when we offer it, then you don't show up. Well, that's not on me. That's not on us as a community of faith, as a church. We're offering the opportunities. If you don't take it, who's that on? That's on you, right? And so when you keep coming back, we're still struggling. What's the definition of insanity? Right? Doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. Find someone that can help you with different results, because that's what they do, right? That's the importance of it. And again, we have Stacy that does that. And here, I'm gonna make sure we understand there is a biblical model for this. Solomon, who was very wise, but also the richest king ever to walk the face of the earth, he wrote in Proverbs chapter 19, verse 8, where he said, to acquire wisdom is to love yourself. People who cherish understanding will prosper. So we're gonna go to someone who has understanding about our finances, so that we can be better at what we do when it comes to finances, right? We need to have those people in our lives, and we need to make sure we're constantly finding them. Thomas Edison, I love this quote of Thomas Edison. We should remember that good fortune often happens when opportunity meets with preparation, right? Many of us want the good fortune, but we're not willing to prepare to take care of it, right? When it comes to a budget, when it comes to savings, when it comes to all those different areas of life. And we need to make sure that we walk through that, because again, Solomon comes back in Proverbs, which is called the book of what? Wisdom, right? Proverbs 15, 21 through 20. Foolishness brings joys to those who have no sense. Some of you are going, I have a family member. Right? I know who that is. If you're laughing, you can go, I don't have that family member. It's probably you. Just saying, right? But it says, foolishness brings joy to those with no sense. A sensible person stays on the right path. Could that be budget? I don't know. Biblically, we can look at that. Verse 22. Plans go wrong for lack of advice. Many advisors bring success. Right? So we talk to a financial advisor. We talk to people about our health. We talk to people about how we are mentally, spiritually. We need to make sure that all those things come together as a follower of Jesus. I love Dave Ramsey's quote on a budget, right? A budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Hi, my name's Scott Bloyer. Normally I'm the guy that goes, where'd that go? Right? And my wife is the one going, here's the budget. And I'm like, yeah, but it's like guidelines, right? She's like, no. I'm like, okay, this stinks, right? But we want to make sure that we're walking through that, because honestly, as a couple, you have to be both in. Because if one's a saver and one's not, man, that creates some really rough conversations, right? It's kind of like the conversation comedians used to joke about, where couples are laying in bed and someone goes, if I die, will you marry again? That's a rough conversation. Right? You don't want to answer that bad boy, right? Same thing with our finances. The joke at my house was my wife would come in and go, okay, what's this receipt to? Huh? What are you talking about, right? Now, I'm going to just be honest, the online banking really sucks for me, because I'll get a text message, why are we buying Starbucks again? Man.
Is that Millie's?
Now it's Millie's. Yeah, now it's Millie's. It's like, is this another burrito? I'm like, yes, I'm just helping the church. And so, We want to make sure we stay within that. Proverbs 21:5. Here we go. You ready for this? 21:5. Proverbs 20. It says, good planning and hard work lead to prosperity, but hasty shortcuts lead to poverty. There's no quick answer. Everybody's looking for the short. Well, I'll win at lotto. Yeah, the odds are not in your favor, right? You want to make sure that you're doing the right things for the right reasons. In fact, this is a quote. I don't know if you've heard this. It's from an author by the name of Nancy Levine. She wrote this: whether we make our own money or rely on someone else, many of us would rather pretend our financial matters don't exist, or we hope that they'll just take care of themselves. I thought this was key in the quote. My ex-husband, thought that was key in the quote, right? My ex-husband was like that. He always said, I bank by prayer. I go to the ATM and I pray that money will come out. Okay, here, can we be honest? That's not faith, that's stupidity. Right? That is. Right? And I know some of you are like, that's harsh. Well, it's truth. Right? We've got to be willing to say, I'm doing the right things in planning so that later on I can handle this. And hear my heart. I grew up in a neighborhood where planning and saving was not talked about. Right? I grew up in Montbello. We grew up here in Aurora. Right? I always tell people there are many times our family as kids, we were making decisions about life things, whether it was food or having this. You know, it was just, we weren't poor, but we weren't rich either. Right? Some of the food boxes we gave away, I remember as kids, we would get. Right? And that's nothing on my parents. My parents busted their butt. They saved money. They did the best they could, you know, and it was just, you know, it was the 1970s. That's when you pushed your car to the gas station, right? And so we need to understand that our decisions we make now define what we do in the future. Because we did have someone text in a question. You know, one person did it. That's okay. Jesus loves that one person. The rest of you. But the question was this. The question was, I'm in this certain age. I don't know if I have enough money for my retirement. What should I do? Talk to a financial planner, right? Find someone that knows the work that needs to be done for you, right? We can't sit up here and answer that question. That's a definable question for someone. So Allison, if you are watching or if you're here, make sure you talk to someone that can help you with that, right? We need to make sure we have that. And here I'm gonna push this hard. If you're talking to a financial planner and you're a follower of Jesus, your financial planner should be a follower of Jesus. Because we want people to handle our money in a biblical, honorable way. If they're not, can I be honest? God will still hold you accountable for that. Because it's the money that He's given to you, not to the financial planner. We are held accountable for those areas of our life, right? And so we need to make sure we look at that. How does that function? What do we do? Because ultimately, we're going to stand before God and we're going to give an account for who we are and how we've lived our life. Now, some of us here, whether watching online or in person, have never said yes to Jesus. So we're going to make sure you understand that that's where it starts. Some of you are going, well, how do I handle my money financially in a biblical way? Well, you can't do it unless you've said yes to Jesus. He's got to be the Lord, the authority over all your life, your heart, your soul, your mind, everything, not just your cash. Because what I love is people are like, oh, God says test me. So He's going to bless me. So I'm going to... But He's talking to one of His kids, His family members. See, God created you to have a relationship with Him. You're not here by accident. You're not an oops. You're not a mistake. He loves you. But it's our sins that separate us from God. And so apart from His perfection, His holiness, all those things. And you're never going to be good enough to fix that. It doesn't work. And that's why Jesus came to this earth. He died on the cross. He rose again. And everyone who trusts in the completed work of Jesus can have a relationship with God that starts now and lasts forever. You can't ask Dad to bless what you're doing if He's not really Dad. Right? We need to have that relationship with Jesus. That's where it starts. And then, let's be honest, Dad influences us differently when we have a tight relationship with Him. Right? Mom influences us differently when we have a tight relationship. So we need to understand God the Father wants to have a good relationship with us and enable us to grow faith, spiritually, mentally, physically, financially. Because just because you're a Christian doesn't mean you need to walk around broke. Right? Because what testimony is that giving about the lordship of Christ on your life? You know, some people have this poverty mindset. I got to be poor if I follow Jesus. And then we've got the flip side, which is the prosperity gospel, which is totally not Jesus, right? Just because I said yes to Jesus doesn't mean Jesus goes, I promise you're going to be rich. No, he doesn't promise that at all. If so, I would have tried that long time ago. I'm just saying, Cheech and I, our pastor, our executive pastor, we joke all the time. We just like to try the rich part every once in a while. We wouldn't be upset if God said, here, try this. We're like, oh, okay, right? But where's the faith in that? The goal is that we grow in our faith, not just in our finances. But we do know they go together. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, bow your head. As we talk about finances, we talk about money, the priority should be that we grow in faith. But for some of us, that faith needs to start by saying yes to Jesus. So I want to give you an opportunity to pray a prayer. There's nothing magical about this prayer. It's just simply a conversation between you and Jesus saying, I can't do this on my own anymore. I'm trusting in you. And so with everybody's eyes closed, everybody's head bowed, if you've never prayed to say yes to Jesus before, I'm going to give you that chance. Just simply pray between you and Jesus. Say, dear Jesus, thank you for creating me and loving me, even when I choose to live life my own way. Today, I now realize that I need a personal relationship with you. So I'm ready for everything to change. I'm giving my life to you. I'm putting my faith and trust in you as my only hope of going to heaven. So I'm going to ask you to forgive me of my sins. And I want to thank you for dying on the cross for me. Jesus, please help me to know you more each day as much as I can know how as a follower of you. Jesus, I want you to take control of my life because when I'm in control, it's not working. Give me this life change and enable me to be a new person from the inside out. Please help me to grow in faith from now on. With everybody's eyes closed, everybody's head bowed, if you said yes to Jesus for the very first time, I want to make sure you let us know. Whether you're watching online or in person, there's going to be a link that pops up online. Just let us know. Just text the word yes to us because we want to celebrate that. See, when you enter into a new family, the family's there to take care of you and love on you. But if we don't know you've said yes, we can't do that. So we're going to ask you to text the word yes. If you're here in the building, just go out to our new booth. They've got a Bible they want to give you. They want to give a study. There's all these great ways that we can help you grow in faith. Just simply text the word yes to 720-740-0620. It's quick, it's easy, and we're going to celebrate you. Now, maybe you're here and you're a follower of Jesus and you made a commitment a long time ago and you kind of decided you're going to do things your own way and now you're coming back to them. We want to know you made that reconnection. Just use the Connect card, digital Connect card. Let us know right there. But I believe this is a moment for us to pray, number one, for Brian, but number two, for us as a family, as a church community, to live out biblical principles of finance. Not for our blessing, but because we want God to bless our city, our church, and our community as we trust in him. God, we thank you so much for today. We thank you for the opportunity to be here and stand in your presence and know that you love us completely. And so, God, I'm asking for you to impact each and every one of our hearts, seeing that we can do differently when it comes to our finances, to be able to honor you in that area, to know that you're a dad that loves us and wants to be there with us when it comes to these decisions on finance. And so, God, I pray that we will seek biblical knowledge from someone who knows something about finance to help us. Find, God, the right advisor for us so that we can trust you more and lean into you more in those areas of wisdom and finance. And Jesus, we just thank you for today and for what Brian does and his partnership with Elevation Christian Church, whether it's through the Global Leadership Summit or the Box Bash. Watch over him, care for him, and bless his family as he leads at Southeast Christian Church. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.